So much happened in the latest meeting between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. First, it was the clash that happened backstage between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Next was the reunion of Chris Eubank Jr. and his father. The trio met at a meeting where Benn and Eubank were to do a face-off ahead of their fight later. This month, surprisingly, Chris Eubank Jr. appeared with his father, who has been disconnected from his career after several rifts and clashes.
You know,
yeah, but there's madmen, and then it will take a miracle for Conor to beat
ain't no miracle. No, listen, you got someone sitting there who'd rather fight YouTubers.
An act of God is what it would be for you to beat me.
Okay.
If you beat me...
Okay then. Be a man of your word then, you retire then.
The limit 160 pounds. The family feud goes on.
Well, this was an opportunity for Conor Benn, a perfect opportunity to carry out his revenge on Chris Eubank and his son, seeing how much verbal exchanges have happened between his own father Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Of course, Conor Benn didn't take it lightly. He used the best of his verbal weapons to attack both father and son. Things had appeared good and calm after they met for the face-off. However, they jumped into a quick interview with some reporters, and while Chris Eubank Jr. and his father answered questions, Conor Benn showed up and rained insults on them for their deceitful show.
Saturday, April 26th, live on the Zone Worldwide and Sky Sports Fox in the UK and Ireland. Saturday, April 26th is Benn versus Eubank.
The two Eubanks had promised Conor Benn a career-ending defeat. While they answered questions, Chris Eubank Jr. said violently, "I'm going to help boxing eliminate a cheat for good." This caught Conor Benn's attention as he approached them, and for the next few minutes, it was a heated exchange between Benn and the Eubanks before they separated as they prepared for fight week.
I want to apologise to you because I remember you saying, like, you know, that I was disrespectful to your dad, so I'm sorry if I offended you saying that I hate your dad. I don't hate your dad, because you know what it is? Through my stupidity. That was my stupidity. I'm a 61-year-old man, and you know what? I thank God for having Chris in my life, because at the end of the day...
Just before that happened, Chris Eubank Jr. had been insisting his 100k pounds fine for slapping Conor Benn with an egg was steep. The pair went face-to-face for the first time in February ahead of their grudge match on April 26th. As they stared each other down, Eubank Jr. grabbed an egg from his pocket and slapped it into his rival's face with security, then having to rush in to separate the two men. The egg was a reference to the bizarre excuse that Benn ate too many of them when he failed 2 drugs tests before their cancelled bout in October 2022. After reviewing the incident, the British Boxing Board of Control ordered Eubank Jr. to pay a 100k pounds fine.
You retire on April 26th?
Well, I'd love to give him 2 beatings, but he should retire. People will be calling for retirement come April 26th. If it was UFC, I'd make him tap out.
What punishment do you think you should get for the slap yesterday?
I think he should get £1 million fine for the slap.
Yeah.
Just due to the profile of the fight. I feel like it'd be an injustice if it was anything less than £1 million.
The 35-year-old says the fine is a little bit strong and has vowed to deal with the situation. "We are dealing with the situation. 100k for throwing an egg seems a little bit strong," he told Sky Sports, especially looking at what others have been fined for what would seem to be much more serious incidents over the years. "I don't think anyone's got anywhere close to a 100k pounds fine. Tables being thrown, people getting punched in the face, slapped in the face, 100k for an egg. It's steep. We'll deal with the situation." Eubank Jr. and Benn met again at another press conference 2 days after Egget, and the former insisted he had no regrets about his behavior.
Come on, Chris!
Wait.
During this whole process over the last 2.5 years, I feel many lines have been crossed, Eubank Jr. said. I'm sitting up here today on a stage with two of the scummiest characters in boxing, in my opinion, a PEDS cheat, and a man who did everything in his power to help him get away with it. So me throwing an egg at somebody that claims that is the reason why he failed 2 drugs tests because of contaminated eggs. I think that's light. And I think that's deserved. He deserved the embarrassment of what happened. If I had the opportunity to do it again, I would.
We've done so much. We've left you lot to carry on the legacy. So at the end of that, but I apologise for what I said about hating your dad. I really don't. But because you was going on about it, and at the end of the day, I just want to let you know that I'm sorry.
Chris Eubank Jr. cracked an egg in Conor Benn's face to cap off an explosive press conference 2 months out from their grudge match in London. Their press conference in Manchester saw Eubank Jr. press Ben on his failed drugs tests, which derailed their planned bout in 2022 and led Ben to be banned from boxing in Britain. Until recently, in fact, the face-off between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, set for the 3rd day, was scrapped amid security worries. This development followed a heated encounter in Manchester, where the two boxing talents exchanged sharp words at a press conference, escalating to a point where Eubank Jr. struck Benn with an egg.
Shock of your life, you know that? No, you are. What, you think I'm gonna be a walk in the park?
I mean, yeah, on a nice summer's day.
The altercation was quickly contained by security as Ben tried to retaliate, taking to social media after the incident. Ben fired off, "That's the only shot you'll land on me, you freaking idiot. 2 rounds, you're finished." Ben, who tested positive for the banned substance clomiphene in 2022, was cleared by the World Boxing Council in 2023 after it said an elevated consumption of eggs was a reasonable explanation for his adverse findings that was the source of Eubank Jr.'s unique attack at the end of their press conference, which almost prompted a brawl with both boxers held back by security.
What is your relationship with your dad now?
You know, we're in a weird, we're in a strange place in our lives at the moment. You know, it's very hard to kind of, you know, go through an entire career being with your old man and then to not have him around anymore in terms of, you know, the boxing side of things. But I just felt that that's what I need.
Ben, 28, was only recently cleared fully, and he will box Eubank Jr. 35 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the 26th of April. The Briton will clash more than 30 years after their fathers Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. settled their bitter rivalry. Eubank Sr. beat Ben in 1990 before they fought to a draw in 1993. Even before the egg slap, the press conference itself was full of tension, with barbs flying from both men and their promoters.
But retribution is coming your way, mate. I'm telling you. It is coming your way, mate. You know, he's going to hit you so many times with a left, you're going to be crying for a right. He's going to hit you so many times, you're going to think you're surrounded. I'm telling you, mate.
That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear apology.
Eubank Jr. began by suggesting he and Ben should be sat closer together, which the latter outright refused, saying, "I don't know who you think you're talking to, silly idiot." Eubank Jr. couldn't resist taking a jibe at Ben after remarks about the latter's egg consumption being linked to his failed drug tests, which he maliciously brought up to taunt Ben at the press conference. Not one to stay out of the limelight, the 35-year-old Eubank Jr. also took a shot at Eddie Hearn when Ben's promoter Eddie Hearn tried to have his say. He was promptly shut down by an angry Eubank Jr. who said,
I believe it may have come from contaminated egg.
The case is done. I'm not here to talk about the case at all. It's, you know.
I'm only asking because he hit you with an egg, obviously.
He can do what he wants. It's going to get chinned come April 26th. Period.
Eddie, you know, I don't like you, right? So if you know that what on God's sweet earth makes you think I'm going to listen to anything you have to say, we're going to skip past whatever nonsense you were going to say. You can sabotage the event, and I'll just start talking to Ben directly. The always talkative Hearn couldn't resist hitting back at Eubank Jr., stating, "I think I'm more popular than you," before addressing his own fighter, asking, Conor Ben, how are we feeling about smashing this geyser to pieces on the 26th of April? Ben also referenced the strained relationship between the Eubanks Jr. and Sr. quipping, "His dad doesn't even like him. You could not pay that man enough money to sit in his son's corner." Eubank Jr. appeared unruffled by this and claimed he was accepting the roles both men will play in the fight.
Difference between
So
you and
lied
Conor
to the
is
public in front of everybody, and now I'm setting it straight.
He wants to beat you. Forget the money. This is not about the money for Conor Ben. This is only about the money for you.
No, it's not.
It is.
And again,
For the first time in boxing history in a mega fight, there are two bad guys, he explained. One of us has accepted his fate. I gave up on my dreams of being a hero a long time ago. I'm a veteran at this stage. A supervillain. Ben managed to overturn his suspension last November and will now step into the ring at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds with a strict cap of adding no more than 10 pounds by Saturday morning. Following a chaotic press conference in Manchester, Eddie Hearn spoke to Sky Sports and suggested that anything could happen now. He came on stage with an egg. I thought it was glass. The noise and the way it shattered was like glass. We don't know what's happened. All I'm saying now, all bets are off. If you bump into Nigel Benn in the next 10 minutes, watch yourself, he warned.
why are you speaking to me?
Because you're speaking to me.
I'm speaking about you. I'm not speaking to you.
Now. You're so, listen,
I don't want you
I'm in
addressing
your head
me
rent free. All you do is talk about me.
I don't want to hear you anymore. If you lie to the public, if you lie to the public.
Hearn also commented on Eubank's premeditated action, stating, "The thing with Eubank is that everything is premeditated. He sat there at night and thought, I'm going to hit him around the face with an egg. Some might find it funny. Imagine you in a head-to-head right now. The police would be looking for you. The game is the game. The fight is the fight. All bets are off. Anything goes. You've gone to that level Thursday at Spurs. It's on site." Meanwhile, Eubank Jr. E's promoter Shalom claimed ignorance about his client's plans, admitting, "Honestly, I don't know what happened. It was an egg. We can see it was an egg. But I didn't know what it was at the time. I was in shock at the time, like everyone else. It kicked off there. It was a great press conference up until then. But I think that was too far. I said to him, oh, cuz."
To him, because I'm still not convinced. I believe I said, if you knew about this, you're a dog. That's what I said. And he said, I didn't know anything about it. I have to take his word for that. But I don't believe the team didn't know about what they were going to do. And I just think hitting someone around the face, in the eye, with an object is not the thing to do. I can see a push, but to carry something up and hit someone around the face with it.
Chris Eubank Sr. has said he was extremely disappointed by his son Jr. slapping Conor Ben with an egg last 2 months. While the father's rivalry was storied, Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben have forged their own grudge, which led the former to slap his rival in the face with an egg last month. That press conference stunt was a reference to Ben's 2 failed PEDS tests in 2022, which derailed a planned bout with Eubank Jr. that year, in which the WBC said could have been caused by elevated consumption of eggs on social media. Eubank Sr. addressed the incident, for which Eubank Jr. was fined $100,000 this week.
What happens now is the game changes, but the game is the game. And if you want to do that, you have to live with the consequences of that, and we have to put the provisions in place to make sure that we put a lid on it to make sure this doesn't get out of control. Because if they see each other now, the whole fight's off, because they're scrapping till the absolute.
Here in the United Kingdom and then in the United States, because he beats them all. That's how fantastic I think he is. I've always backed you, Conor. I've always backed you. Okay, you're sensible. If it's true that you've said things about me which are not complimentary, I don't mind that. I'm looking at the people that you're around. Here it is. You know the spirit world. That's how I know you're an honest man.
If I would excuse Junior's misconduct because he is my son, then I wouldn't be fit to be the authority in boxing that I am, Eubank Sr. wrote on X in an attached video. The 58-year-old said, "Where did that come from? You know, I'm supposed to be his example." Christopher Livingston Eubank Jr. is remarkable to have actually navigated this quagmire. He said, "Dad, people aren't like you. What you're about is not what boxing is about today." He said, "These people are swearing and being rude. This is normal to me. The world you knew, Dad, doesn't exist anymore." To which I said, help me, because we are Great Britain. That's who we are.
around you are part of a gang. It's a team thing. You're the mark. Okay, the only person who's going to look out for you is you. Supposed to be your dad. And people like me. You can trust me. Yeah, you've seen me get up in a fight I can't win and walk back into the fire. You can trust me. I'm not going to give you any, I'm not going to mislead you.
Eubank Sr. and Jr. seemingly had the conversation in question on the 7th of March when Jr.'s cousin Harlem fought in Brighton, yet just this week Eubank Jr. opened up on the rift that still exists between himself and his father in any case. In an interview with The Ring, Eubank Sr. added, "I was extremely disappointed by the incident at the press conference, and his choice to use profanity. Such behavior does not reflect the conduct I've instilled in him. The Eubank legacy is built on discipline, respect, and professionalism, and this incident falls short of those values. It's crucial that we uphold the dignity of our sport and the principles that define us." Jr. has been taught that the warrior's path is one of honor and integrity. This path requires fierce discipline and concentration, indomitable will and resolve, and steadfast honor and integrity. Such actions that he chose to take at the press conference undermine the very essence of what it means to be a warrior in the ring.
What's your immediate reaction to your son smashing Conor Ben around the face with an egg?
Where did that come from? You know, I'm supposed to be his example. Christopher Livingston Eubank Jr. is remarkable to have actually navigated this quagmire.
We must remember that our actions, both inside and outside of the ring, reflect not only on ourselves, but on the sport as a whole. Our behavior echoes into eternity. Every step we take can affect generations for better or worse. Therefore, we must be mindful of our actions as they have lasting impacts beyond the immediate moment. Discussing his recent talk with Jr., Eubank Sr. added, "The moment was, as it always is, meaningful. I love my son, just as I love all my children, and I'm deeply grateful for each of them. Seeing him again, I could tell he's grown. There's a wisdom in his face and demeanor that wasn't there before. No matter what has happened, I will always have Junior's back as a father. I know what to look for. When you've lived long enough, you can see it. The shift, the naivety that once lived in his eyes, it's gone, replaced by experience, Dad," he said.
People aren't like you. What you're about is not what boxing's about today. He said these people swearing and being rude and being, he said this is normal today. The world you knew, Dad, doesn't exist anymore. To which I said, help me, because we are Great Britain.
Experience isn't something you just read about or get from being told. It comes from going through it, from making mistakes, from taking the hits that life throws. And that's what I saw in him, someone who's been through the fire, shaped by his own journey. But like all of us, the journey isn't over yet. The son of a legend followed in his father's footsteps when he made his boxing debut in 2011, and his dad was rarely far from the spotlight. He dominated press conferences and attempted to steal the show from his son's corner on fight night.